Hello, I'd like to show you how to do a plan layout for a spray of flowers or an arrangement of flowers. So it's very important that we present our work really neatly and clearly. The equipment I've got is a compass, pencil, crayons. I'm using felt pens today, so that's fine as well. The reason I'm using felt pens is that you'll see it's clearer on the video. I'm using a ruler, and then I've got a selection of shapes. Now, as you know, we need to display focal flowers, secondary flowers, and we also need to display filler flowers as well as leaves. So I've just had a look. I've got some cake cutters, some round cutters here I could use. I've decided I'm going to use this one for my focal flower, which is larger. For my secondary flower, I could use, I'm just looking around the house to see what I've got. So I could use the bottom of a nail varnish. And my filler flowers I could actually draw around a cutter. So I've just looked around the house for shapes. I was also thinking, right, this in a Christmas cracker. I thought it was quite good actually. So I'm just going to use this pointed part for a leaf. But just have a look around. If you haven't got anything you can draw around, the circles can be drawn with a compass. I could make some templates out of card, cut them out and draw around those as well. So so I'm going to draw a circle. Now my circle is 8 inches or 20 centimetres. So I open my compass up to half of that. If I'm using inches, 8 inches, half of that is 4. If I'm using centimetres, half the centimetres is 10 centimetres. And I'm going to draw, hopefully you can see this line. I know with this compass it's a little bit loose, and if I press too hard it'll open it up, but hopefully you can see that. I'm then going to use my focal flower cutter, and I think I might use this now. Yeah, it's a little bit smaller. I think those proportions. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm looking for proportions. So I want the focal flower to be larger, the secondary flower to be a little bit smaller. So I'm going to use this. I think this one will be a little bit too big. Now, what's the shape is entirely up to you. It doesn't matter. I could do a square for the focal flower. It's just an indication. I'm using different shapes so that you can see, and I'm going to draw a key, that the different shape represents different flowers. If I used all circles for these flowers, the focal, the fillers, the secondary flowers, then the design will get a little bit confusing. So I'm going to, the design I'm going to do a teardrop. Now I can do a posy, I can do a crescent, I can do a garland. You know the different shapes for these arrangements, so it's entirely up to you what shape I'll do. You do. So I'm going to use my pencil, and I'm going to bring together these focal flowers, and they're going to be the centre of my arrangement. It's always better to put the focal flowers in the centre. It just balances everything out. Now I'm going to draw my secondary flowers. And it doesn't matter if they underlap a little bit or overlap. And when you imagine when you're drawing when you're popping your flowers on a cake, they don't always go, with a separate to each other. One might overlap each other. And you can see there that I've done it so it looks like that circle, that flower is overlapping that secondary one. So it's up to you how many you put on, how big you want the arrangement to be. I need my pencil sharpening. And just put one there. Yeah, and I'll put one there. So you can see that shape has started to form. Now I'm going to use my filler flowers. This order, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you can work the two together if you want to. So my leaves are coming in here. And they would go around and in between the flowers. I think I'll put a blossom there first. So, and again, this can be any shape you've got. Again, it can overlap or underlap. Now the reason I'm using a shape to draw around it is it does come out a lot neater than if you drew freehand. And those filler flowers, as well as the secondary flowers, can be a mixture of types of flowers. So they haven't always got to be the same flowers. So they haven't got to just be the same flower for the secondary flowers, same flowers for the focal flowers. They could be a mixture. So I could here, these circles could represent peonies, they could represent roses, they could represent a mixture. So I could have a rose, a peony and a dahlia, for example. The idea of this task is to do so that you can show a shape to your arrangement. You've got an idea where your focal flowers are going to go, and you're showing the difference between a secondary flower and a filler flower and a focal flower. So you can, there's a definite definition of size. So I've got a difference of sizes here, and as you know, the pointed one is a leaf or foliage. Okay, so you can see there the shapes I've got. Now, what I'm going to do is do a key so that I can tell people what I'm aiming for. So I'm going to say, to first of all show the different shapes. So I've got my focal flower, my secondary flower and my filler flower. And then I've got my foliage. So I can label these. So this one, and I'll always draw a line underneath so my writing becomes a little bit neater, one more neater. So this is my focal. So focal flower, secondary, filler flower, and this is my foliage. And I could just label that to make it nice and clear that that is my key. So if people are asking if I just included this, they would want to know what these flowers represent. Now another thing, instead of putting focal flowers, secondary and filler flowers, I could actually name them. So I could say that these three are roses. The second ones could be sweet peas, and my filler flowers could be hydrangeas. Okay. So once I'm happy with that, I can fill them in. So what colours shall I do? And you can use fat pens, you can use paints, entirely up to you. Crayons. As I say, I'm using felt because felt pens you'll be able to see the colours a little bit brighter on the video. So you can see there I've coloured mine in, and it's a lot clearer now. So I've got my focals, my secondary, my fillers and my leaves, and I've used shapes. Now you can do them as drawings of the real flower, but sometimes it can become a little bit confusing. What you're doing is showing a plan layout, so if that is given somebody else, they can produce that by putting the flowers, the sugar flowers, in the position of the cake that how you want it. I've also here coloured in my key, so it's quite clear which is secondary and so on. But yes, I can colour in the background of the cake if I want to, but it's not needed. On here I can have my name, the date, and we can have a title. So write your name, date, wherever you like, as long as it's on there. And the title could be plan layout for a mixed flower arrangement. Okay, thank you very much.